Ooh, and keep the volume down.
Okay, am I too loud?
We are live, I can see us.
Ah.
Let's wait a few more moments. But I'm very excited because I can see us on the screen. If you open your phone on Bridges of Light,
Yes.
can you see us?
Yeah.
I can, wonderful. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to this. I'm mega excited tonight. This is the first of the English interview I'm going to be doing on Saturday, on every other Saturday evening on Bridges of Light International. Let's wait a few moments for people to connect. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank you, whoever you that is going to be with us for this hour. For you that are watching this later on, thank you, Bridges of Light, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Life. And thank you, Debbie. Debbie Austin is with us.
Thank you, Luca, and the Bridges of Light group. Lovely to be here.
I'm so happy to have everybody to meet you, because, I mean, you've been really one of the few instrumental people in my life.
Oh.
I met Debbie, I was 2010, when I signed up for the Foundation Metaphysical course. Yes, and the rest is history. But enough of me, you guys know me. But I would like you to meet Debbie Austin. And by the way, she's going to tell us and talk to us about the journey of awakening. But before you tell us about the journey of awakening, and maybe that's connected to it, but I always like to get some kind of personal story into it. Why is it that you are doing what you're doing?
Oh, golly. Well, I don't know. I mean, as a child even, I knew there was more to life than what we could see. So it's like I just intuitively knew it, and I knew that I knew things that I hadn't been taught. So it was kind of like that. I knew that as a child, but then you forget it, don't you? You go off into the world and you do the proper things, and you try to make it in the world and to set up a career and relationships and things like that, and go off into the world. And I did that. And I also did a psychology degree and loved every minute of it, because I just had so many questions to set up a career. And so because of that, with so many questions that still didn't answer. So it kind of sent me then on a spiritual path to try to find out more and try to integrate sort of like the part of me that intuitively knew, but then also the part of me that sort of was grounded in the day-to-day life, and try to understand that differently. So I searched and searched, as many people do on their path, don't they, for something that resonated, and it was metaphysics that really sort of made sense to me. It answered the questions that I'd had forever, and it kind of helped me. It gave me some logical understanding about the laws and the principles, and I understood why I created some of the problems I had in life, and why things were happening the way they were, and what, most importantly, what I could do about it. So that's where metaphysics came from. So I did it initially for myself because I wanted to know, and then I realized that I could teach it. I trained to be a teacher, and so to offer it because I knew it would be of value to other people. So
wonderful.
That's where I am.
And that brings me to the next question. But before I ask you the next question, I can see people coming in, and I just want to say hello and thank you very much for being here. I see May, I see Wendy.
Oh, welcome.
Manela, Chiara, Christina. And yes, I mean, but Debbie is not just of course, a metaphysical counselor and a teacher. You actually founded a school.
Yes.
You founded a school of metaphysics. How is it that, I mean, did you just wake up one morning and thought, okay, then I'm gonna found a school and
No, I was driving at the time, and it was just an intuitive thing to, yes, you know, you've got to pull this together, got to make it a place to where people can access it. So that's when the idea of the school came about, as a way of doing it. And initially we were just face to face. We had just attendance classes, and you came for workshops, little workshops, and then the more the foundation and the practitioner courses and the teacher training all came on afterwards. So for about 10 years we've been doing face to face, and it was about 2010 when Luca joined that that I transposed it all into an online format. I trained to be an online teacher, and so I took the course and you know, transpose it into online, so anybody could learn with us from around the world. So that's what happened.
You had you saw something that was quite far ahead for the time, thinking about it. I mean, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
well, 20 when I first started the school. 20
years, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And yes. And what I mean now, it's also like teaching online.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, people now have access to the information from anywhere, literally anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And of course, I want you to tell us about the courses and what is the journey of awakening?
What is the journey?
How would you describe it?
Well, first of all, is who we truly are is already awake. Right. This is one of the key things, is who we truly are is already awake and at one with life. Okay. However, what happens is as we incarnate into this body, and then we grow up and we get the world mind and the conditioning from our family and from our culture and our faith, and everything else kind of goes on top of the purity that we are. It kind of was all added on top, and then we've kind of lost ourselves. We're in the world, and it appears that we're caught in a world where life's against us, with challenges, and you know, we're in separation, really. And so the journey of awakening is our journey out into the world, where we create problems and crises for ourselves and difficulties, and awakenings and wake-up calls then come about, and then we find our way back to what we already were. And it's kind of that journey, it's that journey out and the journey back. And that's what metaphysics does, is it teaches us, it empowers us with the skills and the knowledge and the understanding, so that we understand the journey, and we understand the journey back, and we know what to do at each of the different stages. So it's kind of like, if you know the roadmap, you understand the process, don't you? And you know how to get yourself from A to B. And so you're not so knocked off course, and because you understand the way to get there, and you understand what's happening as well. Yes,
you just reminded me of the reason why I was immediately drawn to metaphysics. Uh-huh. I remember it was 2010. It wasn't long before I contacted you about joining the course, when I was going through a difficult period, and I contacted a friend of mine. Actually, she's still a friend of mine. She was a metaphysical practitioner, and I remember we had a session, and what struck me, it was what her words, but it wasn't just the words, really something landed on me and resonated with something alive that I could not connect to before when I was going through that difficult period. And she said, basically what you said almost, that she said that there's a part of you, Luca, that is totally, completely unfazed and unperturbed and perfect. Even though now your experience is one of suffering. And I remember that was so powerful. But I remember powerfulness, if I can use that word, of it, because I had had psychotherapy before. I did other modalities, and nothing had worked. Yes. So I thought there is something in here, there is something to this that, let's say, conventional therapies and definitely or normal psychology cannot address. And in fact, during the course, I remember right from the beginning, it was, I mean, it is a journey, really, of self-discovering and of knowing oneself. It was just well, like discovering something like that has always been there.
Yes.
But that I was not aware of.
Yeah, that's it. It's exactly that. It's always here, but we're not aware of it. We're so caught up in the world, and we're so caught up in the thinking and the lack and the limitations that are around us, that we don't realize what's already present, that's within us, that's accessible, immediately accessible. And in that moment, that practitioner then gave you that insight for you to see it, to see what you'd been overlooking unwittingly. But you see, but that's also part of this journey, okay, is people very often think, is my life should be perfect. All right, but what happens is it really isn't perfect in that time. We have suffering, there are breakdowns, there are relationships that don't work out, or we lose a job, or we have a health issue, or something like that. And these have got a divine purpose, even though at the time they cause immense suffering, but actually they're there to wake us up, to unhook us from our ego so that we find something else. It's kind of like it's always there, but if we're still caught in the situation, we don't ever question it and look again, do we?
Absolutely. I don't know if I would be here now.
No, I don't think I would have either. I was way too lazy for that.
if that hadn't happened.
Exactly.
I mean, I can see now what I couldn't see then. I can see now that the gift in this, yes, the gift that I couldn't see, the gift in the challenge. Yeah. When before all I could see, it was suffering, and I couldn't even come near thinking there must be a reason about it. Mm. And my whole perspective in life now, it's different. If something happens, I'm already starting to think and to look for the gift, for the, yes, learning, for something that unless I had embarked on this journey, I wouldn't do.
No, nor would I. It's that ability to see past the current situation and to see what's going on behind it. That's what metaphysics gives us. It gives us a way to look at that. Also, it's like you're unraveling the layers of that conditioning. As I said, we've added it on, society's added it on, life, people, circumstances, it's all layers and layers and layers on top of the purity. Whereas what we're doing is we're layer by layer taking some of that off so that you see yourself more clearly. You see your truth more clearly, and then you can access it and bring it out into the world. You know, you're doing this already, aren't you? With the work that you're doing here on Bridges of Light, you're sharing this knowledge. That wouldn't have happened without you having a clear idea of who you are and deeper understanding of truth. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, if I well, there's a question for you. Would you think? Yeah, would you say that, and by the way, guys at home, if you have any questions, there's anything you want to share regarding to what we're talking about, please do it. If you have any questions, this is the time, just write them down, and Debbie is going to answer your question. But I have a question.
Okay.
Okay. You see, would you say, right, then that somebody that has been suffering is more, let's say, able or capable or aware then to help somebody else who is suffering?
I think so. I think I know it really is uncomfortable and it's really painful and we really don't want to do it, But actually, these life circumstances are perfect for the people that we need to reach. Absolutely perfect once we've transformed them around. Because, you know, if Buddha walked in the room, or Jesus, or Lao Tzu came here right this moment, they wouldn't hear from you as well as they hear from you with your particular slant on this. They know, and they could hear more clearly from you because of your understanding and what you've lived through than others. So I do think that the challenges that we've experienced are good fuel for our future, yeah. And the people we're going to touch and that, yeah.
Well, how would you, let's say, how would you help from a metaphysical perspective, somebody that he or she would say, oh, I don't believe in anything. I am not a believer, so to speak.
Oh, so wonderful, fantastic. That's your beliefs. And it's like, I would work with that. So I would say, so, okay, so can you breathe? Are you alive right now? Yeah. Do you believe you're alive right now? Yeah. So yeah, that's fine. So it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that power of aliveness that's within you? That's metaphysics. That's the divine. That's the oneness. Is the aliveness within you? So that's all I'm talking about. You know, you can call it God, or you could call it Buddha, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. But actually, all we're talking about here is the aliveness that's pure, natural, not in a book. Does that answer?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I asked that because sometimes people that they don't really know what metaphysics is, they almost think, oh, maybe it's something like a cult, or maybe it's another kind of a religion, or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we get asked that question quite often, thinking that's what's happening, but it's not. It's just we're empowering you with the tools and the understanding of the laws and the principles and the way the universe works. It's exactly the same as, you know, that the gravity, you know how to use it. Once you know how it works, you know how to use it, and it's no different than learning about the physical plane, as in learning how the laws and principles work on the metaphysical plane. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And what do you think is the difference between conventional counseling and metaphysical counseling? Because with the school, I guess you offer courses for people that they want to get knowledges about, that they want to know about how they work, they want to know themselves, they want to know how the universe works, and they want to get tools and ways and awareness to enhance the quality of their life. But also you train people to become counselor.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what would you say, because sometimes people ask the question, what is the difference between conventional counseling and metaphysical counseling?
Well, we start from the premise that you're already perfect, whole, and complete. That within any person, any being, that there is that divinity is already there. So we start from that premise, and what we are assisting people in doing is uncovering that for themselves, to work through the suffering and the situation they're in, and so that they get a deeper understanding. Now, you can't push somebody there.
Yeah.
It's a gentle unfolding as people get more accepting of where they are, and they understand what's happening, and they understand it's sort of a wake-up call here. So it's a very empowering kind of counseling. It does deal with, it's a sort of psycho-spiritual style of counseling. But what I really work at is helping the counselors to be able to help people at any level where they are on their spiritual path. Because very often people come to counselling when their life has gone wrong, when there is an issue that's taken place, there is a suffering. And so you need to be able to help somebody to unravel that grief, unravel their anger, unravel the upset with their partner, whatever it is. You need to be able to help them to do that so that they can transform where they are. And then you're just gradually helping people along the way. So you use different tools and techniques depending on how spiritual somebody is, where they are along the path. So that's the idea is that to empower the counsellors to be able to assist people wherever they are on their path, and also to guide them along the way. So
wonderful.
Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely, because I mean, this is, you just explained to me probably the reason why the first session I had of metaphysical counseling, I saw the benefit of it. I was hooked, because as you said, it was I realized there and then that there was and I could connect with the part of me that there was whole and complete, that there had nothing to be, they didn't need to be fixed.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas many therapists, and there's perfectly okay, all therapies have got a place. They've all got a value, and it's the right therapy at the right time. It's very important. But yes, many people come to therapy thinking I'm broken.
Yeah.
And they're trying to fix the brokenness to make themselves more perfect.
Yes.
Humanly, they're trying to do that. Whereas we actually, yes, there's an issue. Yes, there's a problem. Let's unravel it to find what's already is perfect already.
Yes.
And there is, it's there underneath the surface. People have forgotten.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding us about that. Yes, for me that was so powerful. There was, and as you say, then of course there was the understanding. I mean, then you unreveal whatever needed to be unrevealed.
Yeah.
Although without that consciousness, I would have been stuck in thinking and believing that there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't, that there was something I had to reach to feel at peace and at ease. But I could, it was almost instant. It was amazing, the realization that there is something that is pure and complete, and I am that. Yes. Thank you.
And also, it's just, you said it, it's just a thought away.
Yes.
Just a thought away, even in the midst of the worst. It's just a thought away. And it's just a sense of connection. So it's kind of like we help people to unravel and to learn how to empower themselves so that they can do it for themselves, but also how to connect with themselves so that they stay more connected for longer, and so they're not off path or pushed about by life so much, you know.
How would and then I've got somebody ask a question. By the way, guys, fire up even more questions. I'll read it to you in a moment. But you mentioned something here that I'd like you to elaborate on. So how would somebody then stay aware of who they truly are?
Well, it takes training, and it takes feedback. It takes your ability to actually to be sensitive to where you are and to develop your own sense of connection as well. And I think one of the key things, all right, is to be able to see through the mind.
Right.
Okay, that's the thing that draws us off the path. It's fear and doubt and the runaway mind that sort of draws us off the path, and we think we're in the wrong place, or we think we should be better at this or different than we are. And so we're in battle then, we're in conflict with life. And the ego is a sneaky thing, and it doesn't like being sort of taken out of the power, really. So we have to learn how to see through our mind, see through ego, so that we can remain more connected.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Mariella is asking, what's the highest energy that can move the old world? Question mark. God, of course, our healing, divine special guide. It was a question, but then she answered a question.
That's a question perfectly. Well
Yeah.
done.
What's the highest energy that can
Yes.
move the world? God, of course, our healing, divine special guide.
Yes, exactly. That's it. And it's becoming more familiar with that, knowing how to use it, knowing how to see through the challenges that are in front of us so that we can see it anew. And when we see it clearly, it dissolves. It doesn't need to be there. Many of the challenges are there in order to wake us up. But once we've woken up and we've transformed that lesson, it no longer needs to show up anymore.
Yes, yes. And do you think, do you think that people are, let's say, all awake in the same way? Everybody's got the same consciousness? Or no? In other words, do you think that people can be just totally, completely asleep and unaware? Or people can be totally aware, awake and conscious? Or is there like different stages?
Yeah, no, there are different stages. It's like we all buy into the world mind initially, and so we become asleep. We become asleep to our spiritual nature. Yeah, it's still alive, it's present, but we're asleep to it. So yeah, that's where we all kind of start waking up from it. And it's like in that stage, then it seems as if life is done to us. It's like we're a victim of life, and we're a victim of circumstance. Yeah, so do I. Painful. And it's everybody else's fault then. And they're not listening. Yeah, so it's kind of like that initial stage where it all feels as if we're powerless. And then the second stage is really where we start to realize that our thoughts have got power.
Yes.
And that life reflects back what we believe. So that's that stage where we're just starting to realize I can think about this positively, or I can think about this negatively, or I can think about this in lack, or I can think about this in abundance. You know, it's I've got choice about the way I perceive a situation. So that's an important stage, and a lot of people stay there, and a lot of people find their spiritual path on at that time, don't they? They're that they start to realize that their thoughts have got power and they can heal or change situations.
Yes.
Then we start realizing that there's a power within us that's far greater than the situation, and that we're at one with it. So we learn how to sort of let go of our separation in that stage, and we are learning that there is a benevolent universe, and that we can work with it. It works with us. It's flowing through us. It's the life force through us. And so in that latter stages, it's the more mystical stage there, when we know we're at one and we're awakened. Yeah, at that stage. Now, what happens is some people have a deep meditation and they wake up. The world falls away and they see something very clearly. So they go from asleep to awake. But then it's how do you then integrate it? You know, it's like you still got a family, you still got kids, or you still got work, or you still got jobs or mortgages to pay and things like that. So how do I integrate that with my spiritual understanding? And that's what I think we try and help people with, that being in the world but not being so caught in it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. And could somebody, for example, when somebody, do you think that when somebody is, let's say, awake, or let's say at stage 3 or 4, when they are really aware, do you think they can ever sleep back?
Oh, yes. Oh, dear. Oh, yeah. Well, in a way, it's like, no, you can't slip back, because you've got that new awareness. Life, you can't go back to what you were. You know, all of a sudden you see, just like when you saw that, when that counselor helped you, is in that minute you saw something you've never seen before. So you couldn't go back. However, it damn well feels like we can. And it feels like there's actually what's one of the most painful things as we're awakening is we flip-flop back and forth.
Yes.
And that just happens until we integrate it properly, until we stabilize our energy, and then it doesn't need to happen so much. So you might find, I don't know, you go on a retreat, or you have a wonderful meditation, or you have a spiritual experience, and then you come back from the retreat, or you come back and then you have an argument with your partner, or or you lose your job, or something like that happens. And it's like that's what we need to learn, the spiritual understanding, so that we can integrate these bumps on the road and transform them into soul lessons, so that we get ourselves back to that level of awakening. So yeah, very much so. We flip-flop on the path until things stabilize. And sometimes people think, well, I'm back at the beginning again, or oh, they still press my buttons, or whatever. No, there's a lesson and another level that we need to learn from that before you move back. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I can see there's another question here.
Okay, good.
May is asking, what if someone wants to train as a metaphysical counselor, but they're facing challenges in life? Can they still study and help others?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, if so long as you're in a relatively stable space, yes, of course. Like on the course, we use that material, we use your life situation, you know, whatever you're willing to share, we use that in order to help yourself learn, and also you help each other learn as well. You're learning as you go along. So no, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be sorted. My God, it'd never be the school if I'd waited till that happened. You know, it's like, but you do need to be in a relatively settled space where you're not caught in the throes of something that's sort of very challenging for you. So you know, if that was the case, then maybe just some counselling first to stabilize things, and then that would you'd be okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's okay.
And this is a question. And there's another one coming.
Oh,
but this is one for me.
okay.
What do you think? Talking about the journey, what do you think it would be? Is there like a smoothest way through to get through the journey? I mean, what would you say? Or
Yeah. No, so let's say I'm in London, okay, and I wanted to get to Milan, let's say. All right, so I get in the car and I drive and I get the ferry and I go to France, and then you know, northern Italy, and just I know the journey, I know the pathway there. And the smoothest way through is if you've actually got the roadmap, isn't it?
yes,
You're not heading off to Scotland or going up into Holland or whatever in order to get there. So the smoothest way through is if you've got the roadmap, you've got an understanding of the roadmap, and also then you know what happens at each of the stages. And so let's say if I didn't know the roadmap and people started speaking to me in French, well, I wouldn't I wouldn't understand. So it's like in certain stages on our spiritual path, certain things happen.
yes,
Okay, we meet certain conflicts. And so actually understanding the path is very helpful, just as it would be if we were traveling as well. Just like if I was traveling, if I was in Spain and I still wanted to get to Italy, it would be no help to me if I wasn't honest about where I am.
right, yes.
You know, it's like, okay, I'm wishing I was in Italy, but actually I'm in Spain right now. So I have to be honest with where I am.
Yes.
So that from here, it's like a sat nav. I can navigate my way forward. So I have to be honest. Yeah, I've got a relationship problem. Or yes, I've got a health problem. Or yes, I don't know how to do this. We have to be honest with where we are, not where we hope to be.
Yes.
All right, that's one of the biggest myths and pitfalls that people do is they wish they were further along than they are,
Yes.
rather than actually being really honest with where they are now. Because if they're honest with where they are now, even if it's painful, you can do something about it. You can, it's like grace or new understanding can come through from where you are, but it can't come through if you think you're in France, or you should be in France, or you should be in Italy, but actually you're still in Spain. It's there's an honesty that's needed, understanding about the truth.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, and I think that's honesty. I think I personally regard it as being, yes, it's crucial. And especially, I think, when we embark on the quote unquote spiritual journey, because sometimes, and I mean, I've been there. That's why I say this, because sometimes we tend to, let's say, spiritualize things, or let's say to gloss over whatever, just because we think, oh, it's actually okay. There must be a reason for it. But deep down, I am not being honest in the fact that I haven't taken responsibility for maybe what I'm feeling, or the fact that I am actually not at peace with what is happening.
Yeah, and that's important, because otherwise we can be in rage, can't we? We can be furious about somebody's actions or behavior, or somebody's pressed our buttons. But if we're honest about it, that rage has got a divine purpose. You can learn how to handle your emotions so that you transform them and see the spiritual gift in them. But if I've got rage and I'm trying to glass over it and trying to spiritualize it, then I'm not honest with it, where I am I? And so it only works for a while, and then the rage pops up again. It has to do that. It just does. We do need to face. There's no skipping grades in God's school. You have to face the obstacles and find a way through them.
I love that. There's no skipping grades in God's school.
Yeah, that's Joel Goldsmith quote.
Yes. May is saying, when I started studying and becoming more spiritually aware, it was hard to handle challenges because I felt I was a failure and doing something wrong. Now I understand it's happening for my highest good, and there was a deeper lesson.
Yeah. You see, we think that we should make our life perfect and positive, and that's where it's going to be good, when it's all perfect. But actually it's not. Life takes all of us, the positive and the negative, and it transforms all of it. So yeah, we often think that we have to be a certain way, or we have to act a certain way, or our life shouldn't look, with challenges and things like that. But actually, it's what we can do with them when we learn how to transform them, and it creates more peace in. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
No.
Thank you. And how would you say a metaphysical counselor could help somebody on their journey?
Well, what I love about it is you tailor it to that particular person, because it's like everybody's unique. Everybody's life situation is unique. How upset they are is unique. It's like there's a uniqueness that's taking place in their life, and so we help them to try and understand that, and we tailor the sessions specifically to them, so that they can see it differently, and to help them sort of guide them through a process of becoming more aware about the situation and unhooking. Like, say there is anger or frustration or whatever, we help them to handle that and to transform it so that they can see themselves more clearly, and then see a pathway forward, really, sort of, I don't know, empowering them to empower others. It's that's the way we sort of work, and helping them to get more of a natural connection to their true nature, because their true nature knows, okay, yeah, which job they need to be in. The true nature knows which relationship they need to be in, to help them to actually hear their intuition more clearly, so that they are guided from within, so that they know then what's right for them. So it's not that we tell somebody what they need to do at all. We give them the space and the understanding, so they come to their own conclusions about what they need to do, because their soul knows. Their soul knows already, just so that they can hear it better. Yeah.
Thank you. And what would be an advice or something practical that you could tell to anybody, regardless to where they are in their journey, that something that an advice that you would like to give them that could help them to, well, maybe to connect with who they truly are, or maybe to solve a challenge? I know every like to say, I mean, everybody's journey is unique, and everybody it's different from everybody else. But in your experience, what have you found that it's something that could literally help anyone? If there is something, if there isn't, just tell me, you know, Luca.
Well, there's some good practice which helps, you know, without going through like a whole 2-year course, you know, in 2 minutes. But yeah, there is some sort of practice that's really good to actually assist, and that is to find yourself with moments of silence.
Right.
Stillness, you just to nurture that within yourself. It could be meditation, it could be affirmations or prayer or connection, it could be walking in nature, doesn't matter what it is. Yes. But just you need that silence and that space in order to hear yourself more clearly, to hear your intuition, because there is a wisdom within us that knows. And when we've got into a conflict or into a situation, we've forgotten, and we're in the midst of it and trying to fix it at the wrong level.
Right.
You can't fix problems at the level they're created at. That was Einstein, wasn't it?
Yes,
so it's like you need to pull back and develop the ability to be able to hear yourself more clearly and know that there's a way through it, and to, as we said before, be honest about where you are and tell the truth about where you're feeling right now, and just to be able to see through the thinking. You know, there are tools that we teach that are sort of so you can unravel the thinking. There's plenty out there, so that you can transform it, so that you can see the situation more clearly. But your intuition is like the sat nav. It's the sat nav. It's always trying to guide you. It's always trying to speak to you and to advise and bring you back home. But we seldom stop and listen, do we? In our busy lives, we don't stop and sort of hear ourselves more clearly. So I would say the ability to actually develop the sense of being able to get that perspective, so that we can see through our fears, see things differently. I think that would assist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what would you say to somebody? Okay, what would you have told me? This is for me before 2002. If I was coming to you, I would ask you this question on the basis of what you said. Okay, yes, listen to my intuition, but I have got so many thoughts in my head. I'm thinking so many things at the same time. How do I know which one, which voice, which thought it is my intuition? I couldn't tell the difference because I've got so much traffic in my head.
No, absolutely. No, I can hear that. I can understand that particularly. So that's a very important skill to learn, actually, is to be able to tell the difference between the thinking that's run from fear. And that's what it is. It's fear-based thinking that's taking place. Now, when it's fear-based, it has a body signature. you notice it, your energy is up higher, and it's much busier. So everybody's different actually, but I would ask and try and help you find out, so that you can see the times when you're actually off at the races with the thinking and that sort of thing, and you're in fear, to actually understand that, and then notice the difference when you know that it's your intuition. Because with your intuition, it's always calmer, it's always more peaceful, it's always a more still energy, and the body signature is the same. You just know that you know. You don't know how the hell it's going to happen, but you know that you know.
Yes.
And the other thing is the intuition doesn't give us the whole picture all at once. Usually, it might, like the school. I had the vision of it, but I didn't know how to do it. So you might get the vision, but then you have to come back home to yourself, and you do get one step at a time. It doesn't give you lots ahead. It just gives you one or two steps at a time. And so then you do those first two steps, then you're given steps 3 and 4. It's slow and steady.
Yes.
The intuition, to find that part within us that's slow and steady and is at peace about this. Whereas the mind and the fear wants to see it all, wants to know it all. And then I do this, and then I do that, and then I do that. It loves a plan. It loves that whole thing. Whereas your intuition just gives us one thing, and then another, and then another.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And yeah, and somebody's right, is written, when we follow our intuition, things flow a lot more and it feels right.
Yes, very good point. Yeah, absolutely. So that's another thing to look out for, is the signal, is when you get synchronicities, don't you?
Yeah.
When you're going with flow, because you're at one with the universe. Then the universe conspires, if you like, to bring the person that will offer you the next job or the next situation, and the doors start opening. So learn how to notice when you're on the path and when things are at flow, because that will be much those are signs from the universe that you're on the right track. If life starts getting more challenging and there's obstacles after obstacles and it's not working, there could be a reason. It could be that you've misunderstood something, or that you're coming from your ego or your mind and trying to rush ahead.
Yes.
So that's why I say that the ability to connect within yourself and get that stillness and get that replenishment from within, you'll take steadier, more stable steps forward in that way.
Thank you. And what would you say to somebody that that has a very, very busy mind, that would like to be able to meditate, but he or she finds it very difficult? And actually ask you as an advice, because I sometimes I do deal with people, but I want your opinion, since I take advantage of having you here now. And sometimes people tell me, you told me how to meditate, and I tried, but you know what? It really is not for me. I find it very difficult. Okay. Very challenging. Some people say, oh, I love it. We do it together, and straight away they like it. They say, well, it's not so easy, but I can do it, I manage. But sometimes people say, I find it so difficult. I don't think it's for me.
Yeah. No, and it isn't easy sometimes, and especially if you've got a very busy mind, is to actually to find that space and to that stillness. So I would suggest that they don't do a typical meditation. Mm-hmm. That they actually do some other type of active meditation, if you like. So that could be a walking meditation, or a gibberish meditation, or a shaking meditation, or a dancing meditation. So it doesn't matter what technique they use. And even if they change it every day, that's no problem. It's more, the meditation itself doesn't matter. It's the silence you get after it.
Yes.
That's where you get the connection. Yeah. So the method, whether it's an audio or something they do themselves, it doesn't matter which technique or mantra or something like that. There's lots of different ways of doing this, but it's the silence at the end of it that's more important. The other thing I would suggest is that they do shorter meditations. Right? Because sometimes if people aren't ready, you have to be prepared and build up your stamina to be able to meditate for half an hour or an hour. It's better to actually do baby meditations, smaller meditations, because the meditations really are intended to break up the power of that thinking that runs away with itself. So little short meditations help to break that up, and they would work easier. And so you just rest within. There are some little techniques, but you just rest within until you just get a little space. Doesn't have to be for long, just for a moment, and then you move on, get back to your normal life. So some part of the difficulty is because people have ideas of what they think meditation should be like, but actually it's just whatever gets you to the space where you actually have that sense of oneness, that stillness within yourself, and you feel at one, that inner click. Yeah, does that?
Yes, yes, it does answer the question.
But also you can like write things down before you meditate. Write a list of everything that's troubling you on your mind, or imagine putting it on a cloud and it passing away, or putting it on a train and the train taking all the worries, and that it doesn't matter what it is, but it's just, you just need to get used to that stillness and that ability to be able to reconnect is important to develop that, now and for the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Do you think that we are ever, let's say, guided or helped by something, someone, that a power, or maybe somebody that was in the earthly plane and it is not anymore? Do you think that we are ever guided by other energies or entities?
It's not my personal belief that they are separate energies. It's
Right.
like I see them as the divine. They're avenues for the divine, just as human beings are.
Yes.
You know, if I help you across the street, I'm a guide or I'm an assistant, you know, in that. But I don't think it's anything different than other beings, all being channels for help and channels for assistance, if you like. So it's to me, it's the law of grace that's guiding us back home to who we are. And sometimes that's a human being in human form, and sometimes that's a being that's passed over or a guide. But everything is about bringing us back home to who we truly are, to that oneness.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that answer?
Thank you. Yes, I'm intrigued by this because, at the end of the day, personally, I don't think it's important to know if and when and why and what. And as you say, and I personally like to say to people that what we call outside and inside is just a concept. We're all, let's say, in an energetic soup, and I am talking to an extension of myself, and you and everybody that is watching this, you are looking at a part of yourself somehow. Yes. But the reason why I ask this question is simply because I see, and I think that it ultimately it doesn't matter. But some people, you know, they talk about let's say guardian angels. Some people talk about spirit guides. Some people will talk about higher self. Some people talk about God. Some people, I like to say, life. Yes. and yes, and I just wanted your opinion because especially in the group Bridges of Light, there's few people that they work as mediums, literally. So and on a more, let's say, personal level, have you ever had the experience of being, let's say, being inspired, of being guided, so to speak, and and you could tell, or maybe you do that regularly, by the way, maybe, but let's say you could tell that, well, that's not just my mind, that's not just my ego. And how do you feel that in yourself?
Oh yes, yeah, no, that's definitely the case, and that does happen. And it's like, I don't know why I'm doing it, but I know that I'm doing it, and it just feels right to do it, and it feels light to do it.
Right.
That's the signature that I get in the body, that it's light and easy to do it. It's flow. There's a flow there. So that's the way it works. Oh yes, no, I'm using it all the time. I couldn't be without that now. Just one thing was to remember, Luca, about when you said about spirit guides and angels and things like that. Absolutely. You know, people have got lots of beliefs and faith, and we work with that, with whatever somebody believes to be true. However, it's kind of like one of the pitfalls that can happen on the spiritual path is that we put the power in the guardian angel, or we put the power in our spirit guide, and they are guides. They are just guides, just as a human being is a guide. They are guides. It's actually us that have the power. The power of our choice to agree with that, or to go with it, or not to go with it. It's the power lies within us, not outside.
Yes.
Yeah, that was just something that was sort of that some people would sort of misunderstand.
Thank you. I think that's extremely very useful to point out, because I have found sometimes that could be almost an excuse, an easy way out, to say, oh, because my guide, my angel has said, or whatever else, almost as if the responsibility is not mine.
Yes.
But that's very important, because regardless to whatever the little voice says, or big voice, or whatever, you're right, it is our responsibility now and our choice. Whatever we do with it.
Yes, and that's an important stage on the path. Whether it's the guru, whoever it happens to be, it's like you have to come home and come with what feels true for you, what feels true and right, and the best way forward. And we have the power. We have more power than we realize. You know, we underestimate the potential that we have as human beings, or as spiritual beings, really, as to what can actually take place. So the power is always within us, and they are just reflections of the divinity within us. You know, they're reflecting the higher parts of ourselves. That but all of us, the power of our choice is so potent into what we create within ourselves, and what we create for our future.
Thank you. I want to read what Mariella wrote before we close. She's writing, the consciousness we realize during the different moments in our life is necessary to our personal spiritual evolution, and after the return to the first step, also our soul may get confidence with this before evolving as white energy and spiritual healing, pure divine love. Thank you.
Different ways of saying it. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mariella.
Yes. And Wendy's writing, key, the power is within us.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. But then we have to know how to use it. For the smoothest path through. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, if you would like to tell us, actually, well, this is it. We have to wrap it up. But by the way, guys, thank you, everybody, for being with us.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to leave in the comments the School of Metaphysics website, in case you want to check out the courses, which I think also now in September, the new courses.
There's a new foundation course which will lead on to practitioner training that starts on the 26th of September. So or email us, mail@School of Metaphysics.
Yes, if anybody is interested, can contact Debbie directly.
Yes.
Debbie, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Luca, and thank you, Bridges of Light, for inviting us. Wonderful. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. And yes. Can you give us one word of wisdom? Like, 2 words, anything they would like to give us with.
Be present. Be present with where you are right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.